There is a quiet exhaustion that lives just behind a smile. It is the exhaustion of those who have learned to fold themselves smaller to fit into the rooms of others. They move through the world with a soft voice and careful steps, always saying sorry before they are in the way, always smoothing the air before they speak. This is not simply good manners. This is a survival blueprint written long ago. They are the first to apologize when someone else bumps into them. The ones who hold the door a little too long, waving others through with a small, self-conscious smile, even when they are late. In conversations, they listen more than they speak, their own sentences often trailing off, unfinished, as if their story is less important than the one being told. It is not that they have nothing to say. It is that they have learned, somewhere along the way, that their voice might be an interruption. To watch them is to see a slow, gentle fading. They become a mirror, reflecting back only what they think others want to see. A nod of agreement when they feel confusion. A laugh when they feel sadness. They manage the emotional temperature of every room they enter, smoothing out the wrinkles in other people's moods, hoping that if everyone else is comfortable, they will finally be safe. But safety built on disappearance is a fragile thing. At the end of the day, alone with the silence, they often cannot remember who they were being. The face in the mirror is familiar, yet strangely distant, a person they have been serving, but have forgotten how to meet. To understand the adult who apologizes for existing, you must visit the child they once were. Somewhere in the archives of memory, there is a room where love was not free. Perhaps it was a parent whose mood shifted like weather, sunny when pleased, stormy when crossed. The child learned to read the air before entering it, to gauge the temperature of a voice before speaking. Or perhaps it was a house filled with loudness, where softness became the only shelter. The quiet child, the easy child, the one who never asked for more, this child received the silent reward of peace. They learned that to need was to burden. To express was to risk. And so they polished themselves into something smooth and small, a pebble in a rushing stream, hoping not to be swept away. These lessons were not taught with words. They were absorbed through the skin, etched into the nervous system before language could name them. Be good. Don't cause trouble. Make them happy. The child did not know they were learning to survive. They only knew that when they smiled, the world felt safer. When they pleased, they were seen. But being seen for your performance is not the same as being seen for yourself. And the child, now grown, still carries that ancient equation in their bones. My worth equals my usefulness. My safety depends on your comfort. The body does not forget. Long after the mind has rationalized the behavior, the nervous system still operates from an old map. A map drawn in childhood where disagreement meant danger and disapproval felt like falling. When the perpetually polite person senses a potential conflict, their body does not register a simple difference of opinion. It registers a threat. Deep in the brain, the amygdala sounds an alarm. The sympathetic nervous system awakens, flooding the body with cortisol and adrenaline. The heart quickens. The muscles tense. But instead of fighting or fleeing, this particular organism has learned a third response: fawning, to appease, too smooth. To become so agreeable that the predator, whether an angry boss or a disappointed friend, loses interest. This is not a conscious choice. It is a survival strategy encoded in the circuitry. The person who says yes when they mean no is not being weak. They are being biological. Their system has learned that rejection feels like annihilation, and so it will do anything to stay connected, to remain safe within the tribe. Over time, this becomes a loop. Each act of self-betrayal reinforces the brain's belief that the self must be sacrificed for safety. The body grows weary from the constant vigilance, from the smiling through exhaustion, from the quiet swallowing of truth. But the alarm still rings, and the response still comes. Be nice. Be safe. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes from being admired for a self you do not recognize. The perpetually polite person becomes trapped inside the very kindness they constructed. Others describe them as so easygoing, so understanding, the one who never complains. And so they must continue to be these things, even as the weight grows heavier. Inside, something else stirs. A quiet resentment that feels shameful to acknowledge. When a colleague takes credit for their work, they smile and say nothing but later. Alone, the anger simmers. When a friend cancels plans last minute, they offer reassurance, "Don't worry. I understand," while a small part of them wonders when someone will understand them in return. This is the cage. The bars are made of everyone else's expectations, reinforced by their own fear. To speak honestly now would shatter the image. To set a boundary would feel like betrayal. They have become the keeper of everyone's comfort, and the only one who suffers for it is themselves. Sometimes, in quiet moments, they catch a glimpse of the truth. They are not kind because they are full. They are kind because they are afraid. And this realization brings its own quiet devastation. For if their niceness is born of fear, then who are they beneath the performance? The question lingers, unanswered. The cage holds. It never begins with a revolution. There is no dramatic door slamming, no declaration of war against the world. The crack appears in the smallest of moments. A pause before the automatic yes. A breath held before the reflexive apology. Something shifts, almost imperceptibly, in the space between the request and the response. Perhaps it is a simple question. Where would you like to eat? And instead of the usual deflection, "Oh, anywhere's fine," a quiet truth slips out. Actually, not Italian tonight. The words hang in the air, dangerous and unfamiliar. The person who spoke them waits for the ground to open, for the disapproval to descend. But the ground holds. The other person simply says, "Okay, where then?" This is the crack. A tiny opening where the real self breathes for the first time. It is terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The body does not know what to do with this new sensation. The discovery that honesty does not always lead to abandonment. That a small no does not destroy connection. That perhaps they can exist and still be held. The crack is not healing yet. It is simply the place where the light begins to enter. And once it appears, there is no true way to seal it shut again. The work of unlearning is not loud. It happens in the small, shaky moments where the old response rises like a reflex and something new is chosen instead. To reclaim the voice is to practice honesty in increments, to say, "I need a moment" instead of "I'm fine." To offer "I don't agree" instead of a silent, resentful nod. At first, it feels clumsy. The words do not fit comfortably in a mouth accustomed to swallowing them. There is guilt after every boundary, a phantom echo that whispers, selfish, unkind, too much. This is the withdrawal from the old addiction, the addiction to safety through self-sacrifice. The body mourns the loss of its survival strategy even as the spirit begins to breathe. Slowly, the reclaimed voice learns that kindness and truth can coexist. That a boundary set with love is not rejection, but honesty. That to say "this hurts me" is not an attack, but an invitation for deeper connection. Some people will leave, yes. The ones who preferred the performance, who benefited from the silence. Their departure is not loss. It is clarification. Those who stay, they do not require a polished, agreeable version. They want the real thing, the person beneath the politeness, with all their edges and needs and beautiful, inconvenient truth. And in their staying, the reclaimed voice grows a little stronger. There comes a morning, ordinary and unremarkable, when they wake and notice something has shifted. The air feels lighter. The constant hum of vigilance, that background noise of monitoring everyone else's mood, has quieted. They move through the world differently now. Not smaller, not louder, but simply present. To take up space is not to demand attention or to trample others. It is to occupy one's own life fully, without apology. It is to laugh without first checking if the laugh was appropriate, to express an opinion without immediately softening it, to let a silence exist without rushing to fill it with reassurance. It is the quiet revolution of being exactly who you are in a world that often asked you to be someone else. The old habits still whisper sometimes. In moments of stress, the body may still reach for the familiar comfort of self-erasure. But now there is a choice, a pause, a breath. And in that space between the reflex and the response, freedom lives. They learn finally that love does not require performance. That connection built on truth, though sometimes messier, is the only kind that holds. And as they walk through the world, no longer fading, no longer apologizing for their existence, they discover something extraordinary. They were never too much. They were simply offering their fullness to people who did not know how to hold it. The right ones will. If you've made it to the end of this reflection, we'd love to know where in the world you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. Let's see how far this message travels. And if this story resonated, please like and subscribe to PsychPaint for more explorations of the human heart.